Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the olfactory pathway, which is also called the pathway for smell. And this question is asked in 5 marks in exams. So again it is important. So let's talk about this. The olfactory tract enters the brain at the anterior junction between the mesencephalon and the cerebrum. There the tract divides into two pathways. One passing medially into the medial olfactory area of the brainstem and the other passing laterally into the lateral olfactory area. The medial olfactory area represents a very old olfactory system, whereas the lateral olfactory area is the input to a less old olfactory system and a newer system. So that is how the olfactory pathway divides into three parts. First is a very old olfactory system, which is medial olfactory area, then a less old olfactory system, and the third is the newer system. First we are going to talk about the very old olfactory system, which is the medial olfactory area. The medial olfactory area consists of a group of nuclei located in the mid-basal portions of the brain immediately anterior to the hypothalamus. Most conspicuous are the septal nuclei, which are midline nuclei that feed into the hypothalamus and other primitive portions of the brain's limbic system. This is the brain area most concerned with the basic behavior. So limbic system mainly concerned with the basic behavior pattern. The importance of this medial olfactory area is best understood by considering what happens in animals when the lateral olfactory areas on both the sides of the brain are removed and only the medial system remains. The answer is that this hardly affects the more primitive responses to olfaction, such as licking the lips, salivation, and other feeding responses caused by the smell of food or by primitive emotional drives associated with the smell. Conversely, removal of the lateral areas abolishes the more complicated olfactory condition reflexes. So we have learnt about the condition reflexes in our previous lectures. Now we are going to talk about the less old olfaction system, which is the lateral olfactory area. The lateral olfactory area is composed mainly of the pre-piriform and piriform cortex plus the, you can say piriform also, plus the cortical portion of the amygdaloid nuclei. From this area, signal pathway pass into almost all the portions of the limbic system, especially into less primitive portions such as the hippocampus, which seem to be most important for learning to like or dislike certain food depending on one's experiences with them. For instance, it is believed that this lateral olfactory area and its many connection with the limbic behavioral system cause a person to develop an absolute aversion to foods that have caused nausea and vomiting. An important feature of the lateral olfactory area is that many signal pathway from this area also feed directly into an older part of the cerebral cortex called the paleocortex in the anteromedial portion of the temporal lobe. This is the only area of the entire cerebral cortex where sensory signals pass directly to the cortex without passing first to the thalamus. A newer pathway. The third one. The newer olfactory pathway has now been found that passes through the thalamus, passing to the dorsomedial thalamic nucleus and then to the lateroposterior quadrant of the orbitofrontal cortex. Based on studies in monkeys, this newer system probably helps in conscious analysis of odor. So now we summarize all the things what we have learned. So this is how there appear to be a very old olfactory system that subserves the basic olfactory reflexes, a less old system that provides automatic but partially learned control of food intake and aversion of toxic and unhealthy foods, and a newer system that is comparable to most of the other cortical sensory system and is used for conscious perception and analysis of olfaction. Centrifugal control of activity in the olfactory bulb by the central nervous system. Many nerve fibers that originate in the olfactory portions of the brain pass from the brain in the outward direction into the olfactory tract to the olfactory bulb. This terminate on a large number of small granule cells located among the mitral and tufted cells in the olfactory bulb. The granule cells send inhibitory signals to the mitral and tufted cells, and it is believed that this inhibitory feedback might be a means for sharpening one's specific ability to distinguish one odor from another. So in short, you can summarize the olfactory pathway through this chart. Like olfactory receptor cells merge into olfactory nerve or goes into olfactory nerve, then it goes to the olfactory bulb, then olfactory goes that it travels to the olfactory tract, and then it divides into medial olfactory stria and lateral olfactory stria, where medial olfactory stria goes to septal nuclei, and then it travels through hypothalamus to the limbic system, and which is called the very old olfactory system. And the olfactory tract or the impulses goes which goes to lateral olfactory stria further divide into two types, which is pre-piriform cortex and piriform cortex, and it travels through limbic system through hippocampus, which is called the less old olfactory system, and the impulses which goes to lateral olfactory stria in another part, which goes to thalamus, and which travels to orbitofrontal cortex, which is called the newer system. So that is how the whole olfactory pathway works. So if in exam it is being asked, then you should have to write about all the three systems. Again, it is different from the other pathways, and you can say that the olfactory pathway or mechanism of smell or nerves are ipsilateral. So this was it, and if you are having any query regarding this, then let me know. Thank you.